Yeah. Salut. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Yeah. I hope you guys doing well. Hi, Iulian. I would like to ask about your new body work, charcoal paintings. I feel like, of course, you see a lot of like multiple layers of the landscape, and you have been dealing with, but somehow changing material has been kind of also challenging. But I'm just wondering how you ended up this practice.
Hello, Seolhui. For me, drawing it's like a study. Actually, I started to focus on Roșia Montană more than 1 year ago with painting, of course, mixed media, and after that, because it was a research about in Romania, Roșia Montană, I said that it's a good way to continue this research. It's very different as a technique, but in this way, I think that I can go deeper and deeper with this research about Roșia Montană, but not only this case, and more general about our intervention as humans in nature.
And in the meantime, we have been discussing a lot of these gold corporations in the Roșia Montană. That's basically you started your practice, and it may sound very also political, but basically the Golden Corporation was the company that built it in the 1997. Now it's still ongoing, but somehow we talked about ownerships and the like belongings, kind of a people's greed, chasing all the gold materials, and that's also kind of the fact you have been really fascinated by your basic structure. Could you just talk about the background? When it's your first time to visit Roșia Montană to open this door?
Yeah, I used to be involved in society, and yeah, I used to go to the protests about corruption, political things, environments, of course. So one of the biggest protests in Romania, it was in 2015 with Roșia Montană, of course. And that protest was a symbol of changing. The society changed in that times the government. So for us as a society, it was a victory. So it's a symbol of changing. And yeah, Gold Corporation was involved in Roșia Montană. I have some paintings with this name, Gold Corporation, like a symbol. I wasn't agree with how they start to mine. I understand this even when I was in high school, when I learned in school, these things, not only from press. So we know somehow what is signed. After 10 years, I started to go in person to be more interested to Roșia Montană because I read a lot of articles about that place and about how many houses are abandoned. The houses, some of them was bought by Gold Corporation, maybe 10% of population in comparison with more than 10 years ago lives now there. It's really a sad atmosphere, and I wanted, first of all, I wanted to go there for the atmosphere. Not only Roșia Montană, near Roșia Montană there are other mining places like Roșia Poieni for copper, Câmpeni, Abrud, other places with mining, but not exactly with gold. So I visited that again and again, and that started as a research. Now, to when I made a lot of photos, I made some sketches, some digital sketches. I put it together. I create compositions, and after that, in a poetic way, somehow, I started to paint. I arrived to the drawings.
In relation to that kind of your all the journeys and practice, and I remember when we are discussing about exhibition title, and if I remember correctly, you were so happy about when I suggested like a poetic nature, because somehow as a curator, I know you have been really dive into this kind of criticism, maybe also socialism, capitalism. That's the kind of the things happening simultaneously, global way, but the other way around, when I see your drawings first time, I captured emptiness first and then absent, and delivered more like a generosity about the nature, and then we may need to really think about the behind the scenes somehow when we encounter the nature. That's why I really want to kind of bring up your attitude, your behavior, how you have been really communicate with nature. That's in that sense, it's important to argue how poetic it is, because as a human being, and it's part of our life. I was very happy that you accept that kind of my suggestion. Also, you may also think about this kind of process, because you have not really approached this kind of structures previously, because that previously in your title more like directly mentioned the constructionism, those kind of practical wise to say that, but it's kind of more like, I think, abstract and somehow. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I really like to paint the absence. I think that more than 14 years ago, I started to paint absence, even when I had that kind of images with industrial landscape, because of the story in the background. So yeah, it's not uh, just about an image or about a composition. It's about an atmosphere that you feel there when you arrive in that village in Roșia Montană, and you start to walk on the streets. Yes, it's true, during the summer the streets are full with people, with tourists, with people which are curious, like maybe I was at the first time. But for example, during the spring, of course, winter, autumn, there is entirely empty. I want to be on focus even on this sad story, not only on the ecologically idea. And for example, I had some paintings with a lake. The name of that series is Here Was a Lake, where it's a place where really it was a lake, but now isn't. It was a place where people from Roșia Montană used to be relaxed. Of course, after when Roșia Montană was abandoned, the lake started to be empty. A landscape which 12 years ago it was something beautiful, almost fabulous, relaxing. Now it's sad, empty, and abandoned.
When we started discussing about this play, and my initial idea was the visitors could like make a dialogue with his landscape, such as like really big paintings. When you get to enter the gallery and the right side, there's very immersive, like the paintings like 2 meters by 4 meters. Then you feel like you are walking through the nature, and when you have a distance from the paintings, first drawings, and it feels like a kind of wave-ish, kind of ocean feelings in some. But when you walk through, and then the more you're close by, you see all the details of the nature, and then also tiny elements you can guess that's the kind of legacy of capitalism, like some equipment and also houses, and then but it's obviously featured very much kind of absent. So then like you turn into that, and there's at the corner, and we displayed like 2 drawings and the 1 drawings all together, because I feels like kind of in counting. So that actually drawings and more details, I would say you see more kind of textures, and then his like very thin lining drawings as well. And but you kind of immediately like recognize this is part of our nature and the life. And when you move to the other like room, you face to the like 3 small drawings, and also you physically see the gold. So that's kind of, I would say, hidden part, and then trying to understand these kind of gold corporations. And that's also artist's approach to let them audience to find some hint about this or black white drawings. Then of course like there's also 1 bigger like drawing, and then 2 smaller drawings. It's like the canvas is framing and behind of the kind of wrapping, so that you feel like more sculpture elements, even though it is like drawings. And so that's kind of, we put some hidden gems, I'd say. Yeah, so that's hopefully audience could get into these kind of curiosities, even though we didn't actually present a lot of drawings and paintings. But I feel like somehow bringing the atmosphere, more like emptiness and then also absent, it's really important for this exhibition.
Yeah, I used to work with this concept, beautifying crisis. In 2010, I started to paint industrial landscapes. It was painting, of course. It was a lot of gesture, some abstract part, a lot of strong colors, strong contrast of complementary colors, to have a strong painting. But the message, it was a crisis, right? Our Romanian post-communist story as a country, when we had a lot of industry, which in less than 10 years, it fall down, it wasn't productive. That kind of landscape was part of our identity as a generation, because we grew up with that images of our towns, of our cities. It was a lot of industry. So this industrial landscape was something really familiar for us, something that we didn't want it to see. But in the same time, I put it in the front of the viewer with a strong painting and colorful painting. So I used to work with this concept to beautify crisis. So yes, after a lot of years, we arrive here in Roșia Montană, when I do somehow exactly the same thing, the same concept.
Actually, I have been really into the, let's say, political art movement, as my master dissertation reflecting of the Asian political art movement since 1980s, during the massacre and the dictatorship, and that the braveness the artists brought their practice into the public and to discuss about these topics. And then, but somehow as a curator, for me, my role is really important to understanding about all this background. A word I really like it called legacy. Future generation always get inherited legacy from the past generation, which we can't avoid this one because it's a part of history. I would like to put some curator's perspective, the view on top of that, because I do respect artists' language and then also their aesthetic visions and standards. So a single artist has different kind of approach, even though they may have the same topic and themes. So in that sense, for me, it's really interesting to understanding how artists has been navigated these kind of legacies into their practice. Political art doesn't need to be very much direct message, which means documentations, archiving, and those I get it, but I have been really into that kind of structure that somehow as time goes by, I'm also slowly kind of getting into changing my practice. 2024, 2 years ago, I curated with for the Korean Pavilion with Jacob Fabricius, and we actually featured scent project. So scent as a medium is very poetic and then also invisible. So it's also may very ambiguous, but the other way around, we had actually the theme behind this project. How could we unite North and South Korea by collecting scent memories? So those kind of facts, and we didn't really point out any kind of political agendas in the exhibition, but somehow we kind of cultivating much more like interesting also historical themes through the like people's like voices. I think like a curator should be like understanding about the current society based on like crisis and also development, and also maybe also very much critical discourses talking about all the gentrification, globalizations, and but it's matter of how we kind of cooking, and thereby understanding the artist like practice. So I trying to see the more like multiple layers of the presentations to imagine the future. Yeah, that was. I think that personally, I came to the Romania first time by my pure curiosities. As far as I read about all the Romanian history, I don't know, somehow I felt quite connected because also I kind of see it has been a bit mimicked in my home country's history. North and South Korea's has been divided since Korean War 1953. And then North Korea took some communist regime and South Korea pursued a democrat. Also, this kind of division actually kind of left me a lot of a kind of a mourning and sadness. So somehow has been really kind of into my questions, what is sovereignty as a South Korean living in the Seoul, and which is the world capital and city nowadays. And then what do you mean when I see the North Korean aspect nowadays? I see huge gaps in between these countries. Then when I chase North Korea's regime, it also reflecting on the communism and also has been the link to the Romanian structure. As you may know, the Romanian leader Charles he has been invited to North Korea by the former leader. He has been spending time there and he was very amazed by all the communist structure. He imported many kind of languages from the North Korea, which has been completely censored in South Korea for my generation. And my generation means and all the divided country families separated since the Korean War, and those legacies completely passed away. That means we have been really disconnected. That seems very normal. For me, it seems not normal. And whenever I come here, visit here, it just hit my brain all the time. Those kind of truths and those kind of legacies has been really not cultivated in my home country, but somehow has been developed in Romania, which I feel like really incredible experience. And also I have been keep questioning, why do I have to understand my divided countries history through the Romania structure? Romania feels very unique for me, and then also it just keep creating many entities and here. So that's actually my personal connections here. I trying to understand the artists, how they have been gone through this kind of heavy and hectic period in their life. So somehow I think I'm reflecting kind of my perspective into the Romania angle, and then also trying to see the Romania artists, find a link to my divided countries angle, and those kind of keep playing in my brains. I come here once a year, and even though I may not have any project to come here, I just like trying to be around.
The story it's a little bit older. I was in a visit in Italy with a residence. There we make some changes of experience, and in that times I started to paint wood panels with gold leaf and industrial landscapes. And of course, after more than 12 years, I started again to paint in this technique, but with the topic of Roșia Montană. There are a few ways to understand why I use gold leaf. I think that one of this is, yeah, of course, it's that message about gold corporation, about our gold. Another one is the preciosity of the painting, small painting with gold, and the importance of painting. It's a little bit philosophic. And the third one, um, it's of course, I live in the eastern of Europe with a lot of iconographic images. And for Eastern Europe, gold leaf means the link between people and God, and it's a point to be identified as an artist that you are from east of Europe. For example, 1 year ago, a guy from Germany saw my paintings in an art fair. He didn't know that I'm from Bucharest, from the galleries from Bucharest, and he said from the first time, "Ah, you are from east of Europe, right? Because you have gold leaf."
He recognized.
Yeah, he recognized the geographic region.
Thank you so much
it was
for
really nice.
the Anca Poterașu Gallery for inviting me. I just really appreciate this opportunity to come by to see a country and also even a small part of their culture, which is really meaningful, and my practice as well. Huge thanks to all the team to support this project. Yeah, thank you.
It was an honor to work with you. It was really comfortable to work because we meet before we know each other somehow. Thank you very much for all the time when we spoke, spent time. I think that in this way I arrived at this concept with drawings. So I think that it was a very productive relationship between a curator and artist. Thank you.
I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, as artist and curator, we are growing together. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.